Now we have to pass on to the role played by microbes. That is the third one. Microbes in sewage treatment and energy production. The first one, microbes in household. Number two, microbes in, that is what we have the industrial products. Now the third one, microbes in sewage treatment and energy production. What is sewage? It is a waste generated in towns and cities which contain the human excreta. If you are just analyzing the chemical nature, so it contains large amount of organic matter and mainly bacteria along with protozoans also. The bacteria found in sewage are normally pathogenic. Now we have sewage as a pollutant. There are different types of pollutants. Some are biodegradable, some are non-degradable. For example, plastic, mercury, these are all non-degradable. Whereas this one, organic matter contains mostly in sewage, it is a biodegradable pollutant. It is a biodegradable pollutant. If you are taking the domestic sewage, what does it contain? It contains approximately 90, just you see that I mentioned 99% water, along with what we call suspended solids, floating one, and also soluble organic and inorganic substances. Water, suspended solids, organic and inorganic substances. Now, we cannot release the domestic sewage directly to the water bodies because they pollute water, causes the development of pathogenic bacteria, so the disease is spreading. So, before disposal into water bodies, the sewage should be treated in a wastewater treatment plant or sewage treatment plant to make it less polluting, because it's a biodegradable pollutant causing pollution. When found more in water, reduces the oxygen level, the dissolved oxygen level in the blood, so that the fishes cannot survive. So, before discharging that one into water, we have to treat the sewage water, the sewage in sewage treatment plant to make it less polluted. That's about what we call the sewage in the reduction part. The next one we have to go for wastewater treatment. What is the main objective of wastewater treatment? The main objective of wastewater treatment is to reduce the organic and inorganic substances in sewage water to a level it no longer able to support the growth of microorganisms. That means we have to reduce that one. Then only we can reduce the growth of microorganisms. So, the main objective is to reduce the organic and inorganic substances to level it is no longer able to support the microorganisms. Because if they are more in concentration in water, they cause disease. And also to eliminate potentially toxic substances. So it has two functions, the main objective. One, just to reduce the amount of organic, inorganic substances so that they cannot allow the growth of microorganisms. The second one, to eliminate potentially toxic substances. Now, we have actually the microorganisms, mainly the bacteria, which are pathogenic in nature. See, when you have more number of pathogenic bacteria in water, they could cause the disease. They can just spread the disease. So, they should be or must be normally destroyed. The bacteria, the pathogenic bacteria found in sewage water should be destroyed and must be destroyed in order to prevent the spread of the disease. Now, what are the various steps involved in wastewater treatment? You have primary treatment, secondary treatment, tertiary treatment. Now, the primary treatment is a physical process or a mechanical process. The secondary treatment is a biological process. The third one is nothing but we are disinfecting what is called the sewage water, clearing the water. Disinfecting means now clearing the pathogenic forms. That is the tertiary, that is what is called the treatment. Removal of inorganic substances, nitrogen, phosphorus, and also to remove any pathogenic microorganisms found there with the help of UV rays. So there are three stages in wastewater treatment. Now we will see one by one what is wastewater treatment, what is its main objective, what are the different types of treatment. Next one we have to talk about wastewater treatment. Then what is the main objective of wastewater treatment? What are the steps involved? I mentioned already the main objective, to reduce organic and inorganic substances in the wastewater to a level that it no longer able to support the growth. We have to reduce, otherwise the microbial growth occurs, I mentioned. And also to eliminate potentially toxic substances. What are the microorganisms involved in sewage treatment? So microorganisms, mainly bacteria and some protozoans, play an essential part or role in the treatment of sewage, or the treatment of wastewater. Now normally the wastewater contains a number of pathogenic bacteria as well as protozoans. For example, Cryptosporidium, a protozoan. Another one what is called Giardia. And a number of pathogenic bacteria, for example, the one which causes typhoid. Okay, Salmonella typhi. Like that we have a number of pathogenic microorganisms. They cause disease. So they must be destroyed in order to prevent the spread of the disease. Okay, that's about what we have, the main objective. That is removal of waste materials, reducing the organic and inorganic substances, thereby reducing the growth of microbes. Now in wastewater treatment, it involves 3 different steps. 1 primary treatment, 2 secondary treatment, and the 3rd one tertiary. Primary treatment is a physical process or a mechanical process. Secondary treatment is a biological process. The 3rd one, the final process, to just actually to make the water, the wastewater, to be released, that is in pure form. And also we have to make the disinfection of that water using UV rays, just like we are using what we call the chlorine, the chlorination process to kill the microorganisms. The new method now adapted is use of UV rays to kill the microorganisms. It's the best disinfectant for treatment of sewage water that is being done in the last treatment, what's called the tertiary treatment. So we'll discuss one by one, okay? Now let us see what are the various stages in wastewater treatment. There are 3 primary stages in wastewater treatment. Number 1, primary treatment, secondary treatment, tertiary treatment. The primary treatment is a physical or mechanical process. The secondary treatment is a biological process. Now the 3rd one, tertiary treatment, is again a mechanical process and also using disinfectant to clean the water to remove the excess of microorganisms. So it is nothing but the disinfectant stage. So not altering the quality but removes the microorganisms that cause disease. That's about what's called the tertiary treatment. Along with some inorganic materials also removed from that one. So primary treatment, mechanical one or physical one. Secondary treatment, nothing but what we call biological one. The 3rd one is more or less actually that is a mechanical one, and also treating the water to remove the microorganisms that cause disease. Now what is primary treatment? I mentioned already. It is a physical removal, a physical process, a mechanical process. A physical removal of solids and particulate matter, small particles which are dissolved or floating, of organic and inorganic materials from the sewage water or from the wastewater. By 2 ways. 1, filtration. Another one, sedimentation. So these are the 2 events normally performed during the primary treatment of sewage water. Now what is filtration? So we have sediments as well as floating, just actually debris. So now the filtration is nothing but removal of floating debris through sequential filtration. Sequential filtration means through what is called removing large particles, then the next sized particles. Likewise, we have to remove the particles according to their size. That is called sequential filtration. So the floating debris is removed by sequential filtration. That is called filtration process. Mainly the floating debris is removed. Now the second one, what we have sedimentation. Now the solid. in the form of what is called grit. Grit. So grit is nothing but sand and small pebbles, and these are being removed by means of sedimentation, settling down. These are being removed just by sedimentation. So we have received what we call the solids that settle down. The solids that settle to form what is called actually the primary slate. The solids that settle form what is called the primary slate. We also have what is called supernatants. What are supernatants? Supernatants. The upper layer, we have sediments in the lower layer like this. We have also the supernatants. Now this is the grit, or what we can say the primary slate. Primary slate. The creamy grease-like material that is being settled. So the solids that settle to form what is called the primary slate. And above it we have supernatants. And these supernatants form what is called the effluent. Effluent. Even we can say primary effluent. The upper layer, more or less actually greasy nature, that is called what is known as effluent. Or we can say primary effluent. The primary effluent is taken for the secondary treatment. Okay, so primary treatment involves the filtering of what is called the floating debris and also settling down of what we have actually the solids. Now, another what is called the second process, sedimentation. The grit made of what is called sand and small bubbles are removed. They settle at the bottom. So the solids that settle at the bottom form what is called the primary slate. The supernatants, the above layer, just actually form what is known as that is what is called the primary effluent. The primary effluent is taken for what is called the next stage. It is being transferred and passed on to what is called the treatment, what is called the secondary treatment, biological treatment, removal of bacteria, any of the microorganisms form. That is what is called the biological process. So I will continue by writing those things in the board. Let's see now. As I explained earlier, the second process during primary treatment, that is sedimentation. Here the grit made of sand and small bubbles are removed by sedimentation. Now we have received primary slate and effluent because of what is called the primary treatment. What is primary slate? The solids that settle they form the primary slate, the greasy material along with the mud. So the solids that settle form the primary slate. What is effluent? The supernatants, what I mentioned, upper layer, and they form the effluent. So the effluent from the primary settling tank, I will show the picture later now, from the primary settling tank. Normally, it is being taken for the secondary treatment, the biological treatment, with the help of bacteria to reduce what is called BOD, etc. So the effluent from primary settling tank is taken for secondary treatment, nothing but the biological treatment to remove the bacteria, the pathogenic microorganisms, and also the use of bacteria somehow to digest the harmful bacteria and fungi. So this is the biological event happening during the secondary treatment. Now let's pass on to the secondary treatment. Now let's go to the secondary treatment, also called as biological treatment, because the microorganisms are involved. They are responsible for the consumption of the organic materials. Now the primary effluent, what we received as a result of primary treatment, is passed into large aeration tanks where air and what is called liquid water is pumped into it, where it is constantly agitated with the help of a machine. Just like what we have mixing, we are agitating that one mechanically, agitating mechanically, just like in the mixer or in the washing machine, there is an agitator for agitating the clothes. Like that, it is being agitated mechanically, and air is pumped into it. It is an aeration zone. It is the aeration zone. The previous one is nothing but the settling zone. We have the primary settling zone. As a result of what we have primary treatment, we receive the primary sludge, and that zone and that tank is called primary settling tank. And from the primary settling tank, it is being passed into what is called the aeration tanks, where air and liquid water is normally supplied. So air is pumped into it because we have to provide oxygen for the growth of the bacteria. That's why air is pumped into that what is called the aeration tank. Now, as a result of continuous agitation and also what we have the pumping of air, this allows the growth of, that is what's called the vigorous growth of certain useful aerobic microbes. Useful aerobic microbes to form what is called a flock. Now, useful aerobic microbes which are formed as a result of the vigorous, actually the activity in the aeration tank to form a flock. What is a flock? It is nothing but masses of bacteria associated with fungal filaments to form a meshwork, a mesh-like structure, a network-like structure. So bacteria plus the fungal filaments together form what is called the flock. That is what we have actually formed as a result of what is called the vigorous agitation. So the vigorous agitation in the aeration tank allows the vigorous growth of the useful aerobic microbes into flock. They form a mass combined with what is called the fungi. Now, while these microbes are growing because of the process of agitation, they consume large amount of organic matter from what is called the sewage water or the wastewater. So, major amount of organic waste or organic matter is being consumed by what we have these useful microbes in the form of flock. That's why it's called a biological process. Now, as a result of consumption of organic matter by these bacteria, what will happen? The BOD of water significantly decreases or significantly reduced. What is BOD? What is its effect? And how far these microorganisms are responsible for just reducing BOD? And what is the use of this BOD? Okay, let's discuss. What would happen if the aerobic microbes consume large amount of organic matter present in sewage water? This one significantly reduces BOD. The expansion for that one, biological oxygen demand or biochemical oxygen demand, that is in wastewater. So, the consumption of organic waste or organic matter by the aerobic microbes significantly reduces what is called actually BOD in wastewater. Now, what is BOD? So, biological oxygen demand, this is the amount of oxygen that will be consumed by bacteria for the oxidation of what we have the bacteria, the oxidation of what we have the organic matter found in 1 liter of what is called wastewater. Found in 1 liter of wastewater. So it is an indicator to just calculate how much amount of sewage present in a polluting water or just in the contaminated water. So BOD is the amount of oxygen that would be consumed by whom? Bacteria. If all the organic matter in 1 liter of wastewater were oxidized by bacteria, how much amount of oxygen taken by bacteria, consumed by bacteria, to degrade all the organic matter found in 1 liter of wastewater. Okay, now the sewage water is treated or the wastewater is treated till that is the BOD is reduced. Because BOD is, I mentioned already, BOD is directly proportional to the amount of pollutants in water. More is the BOD, more is the pollutant. If the BOD is higher, that indicates the water is polluted with the sewage more. That's why it's called as actually biological indicator of sewage water, to indicate whether the water is contaminated or not with sewage. So, BOD is directly proportional to the amount of pollutants in water. That's why given the statement, greater the BOD, more is its polluting potential. When the BOD is greater, the amount of pollutants named the sewage present in water is more. When the BOD is less or reduced, then the amount of sewage or pollutant present in water is less. So that's why I say it is a biological indicator. It is used to calculate the amount of what is called the pollutants or sewage found in water. So the main purpose of secondary treatment to reduce the BOD by consuming what is called the organic matter by the bacteria. So they consume how? By oxidation process. So the organic matter in 1 liter of water is completely oxidized by what is called the bacteria, and that is called BOD. So when the BOD is significantly reduced, now the effluent, or we can say the sludge or the wastewater, is passed into secondary settling tank. Secondary settling tank, where the bacteria are allowed to sediment. This sediment is called activated sludge. Okay, so when the BOD is significantly reduced, now the effluent is passed into a secondary settling tank, where the bacterial mass is converted into what is called, actually where you have the flocks of bacteria are converted to form a sediment. This sediment is called what is known as activated sludge. Okay, I'll go to the next one. What's happening during the secondary treatment? Okay, I'll write it on the board. When the BOD of sewage water is reduced because of the activity of aerobic microbes significantly, now the effluent is then passed into secondary settling tank. Now we have preliminary settling tank. So preliminary treatment what we can have. The next one, primary settling tank. The next one we have the aeration zone where we have to pump air. The next one, secondary settling tank. Then we have to go for the tertiary treatment. So now the effluent is passed into the secondary settling tank, where we have the bacterial flocks. We have the bacterial flocks, a mass of bacteria associated with the fungal filaments, where the bacterial flocks are allowed to sediment. The sediment which is obtained because of the what is called the flocks of bacteria sedimented is called activated sludge. It is nothing but the sedimentation of what is called the bacterial flocks, and the resultant product is called activated sludge. A small amount of what is called this activated sludge is pumped back into the aeration, what is called the tank. What for? To serve as inoculum. Inoculum means the base, just like what I mentioned. A curd is added into milk as an inoculum to produce what is called a curd from the milk. So a source, a base. So now this inoculum, even in the case of, you see the plant tissue culture, you can find inoculum, a small piece of leaf which is responsible for the production of the whole plant. That is called inoculum. Likewise, a small part of activated sludge is pumped back into aeration tank to serve as an inoculum, once again to do the process of what is called aerobic digestion. Now we have a remaining major part of the sludge, what is called the activated sludge. It is passed into a large tank where we have the bacteria and fungi are digested by anaerobic method. That tank is called anaerobic sludge digester, where the bacteria and fungi are digested or broken with the help of what is called anaerobic bacteria, and that is called anaerobic sludge digester. So the remaining major part of what is called the activated sludge is passed into, just normally passed into a large tank, and that tank is called anaerobic digester. Here we have certain bacteria which act or which grows anaerobically, digest the fungi and the bacteria found in the sludge. While digestion is going on, we have received a mixture of gases because of the bacterial action, and we have received what we have: carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and the main one, methane. So this is a mixture of gases obtained because of the bacterial digestion on bacteria and fungi, and these gases together form what's called the biogas or the gobar gas, which form the source of energy. So here we have dual function because of the what is called biological treatment. Not only the waste is removed, but also we are getting useful biofuel in the form of biogas, which is a source of energy. Okay, so the sludge is digested, that is in anaerobic sludge digested with the help of bacteria, which removes what we call the bacteria and fungi found in the sludge. So during digestion, a mixture of gases is produced containing carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide and methane. These are all three major components found in gobar gas or biogas, which is a source of energy. That is a benefit of what is called biological treatment or secondary treatment. Once the organic matter is completely oxidized, the second one, production of what we call the biogas, a source of energy. That is because of what is called the secondary treatment with the help of microbes, aerobic microbes. Okay, let's see the tertiary treatment after this one. What is happening in aerobic sludge digester? In anaerobic sludge digester. So in anaerobic sludge digester, so anaerobically growing bacteria digest bacteria and fungi in the sludge. That's what we can see also the flock. So the removal of what is called bacterial masses and fungal masses in the sludge, that is brought about by what is called anaerobic digester, anaerobic sludge digester. It is being done with the help of anaerobically growing bacteria. So during digestion, what is happening because of the activity of bacteria on these bacterial masses unwanted and fungal growth, we have received a mixture of gases. These mixture of gases normally include methane, the main one, carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. So a mixture of gases is produced during the digestion of bacteria and fungi with the help of anaerobically growing bacteria in the anaerobic digesters. Okay, so these gases form the biogas or gobar gas, and which is a source of energy, the fuel. We are considering this one as a biofuel also, because it is being produced from the cow dung or from what is called this one sewage treatment. So the resultant product, we have the biogas as a source of energy. So one, the organic compound is completely digested. Another one, the energy source, what we have the biogas is produced. That's the effect of secondary and biological treatment. Now we have to go for the tertiary treatment. It's a final process. So it is to improve the quality of wastewater before the water is reused or recycled, is either one or released into the water bodies. Now what is happening during that process? The remaining inorganic substances, the remaining inorganic compounds and other substances like nitrogen and phosphorus are removed. This is number one. Another one, this is the region in the tank which is concerned with the disinfectant, which causes the disinfection of what is called, that is, any other microorganisms left out. That is what is called disease resistant varieties. Disease resistant variety means the varieties which are resistant to what is called the chlorine, what we are using for the cleaning and killing the microorganisms. So during tertiary treatment, now from the secondary setting tank, the materials are passed into what is called a disinfectant zone, where UV is exposed to destroy what we have any other microorganisms form. Normally in the whole method we are using what is called chlorination system. For cleaning the water, the chlorine is added to clean the water and killing the microorganisms. The new method is the use of UV as an ideal disinfectant. So the tank is normally called as disinfectant zone, where UV is allowed to expose to the sewage water, and so that what is happening, we have some effects. Let's see that one, okay, during the tertiary treatment. And what is the importance of UV in the disinfectant of what is called sewage water without altering the quality of water? It inactivates microorganisms, actually. It is a chemical-free chlorination system. Chlorine is not involved here, a chemical is not involved. And also inactivates certain microorganisms which are highly resistant to what is called chlorine. That's the effect of UV. Now let's see what is the effect of UV in the tertiary treatment. So the tank is called disinfectant zone, where it is exposed to disinfectant in the form of what is called UV rays, and also removing, that is remaining organic substances, including nitrogen and what we call phosphorus. Let's see. Let us continue the tertiary treatment further. So during tertiary treatment, what is happening? The remaining inorganic compounds and also other substances like nitrogen and phosphorus all being removed. And the one from the secondary settling tank is passed on to the next tank. It is called disinfectant zone. It's purified. The sewage water is purified to release before it is being released into the water. Now, instead of using the chlorination system, now in sewage treatment plant, they are using what's called UV rays to remove any microorganism that is left after biological process. Now, the UV rays is an ideal disinfectant to wastewater treatment. Why? So it is considered as an ideal disinfectant. There is a killing effect. When compared to other systems, it is considered as an ideal disinfectant to wastewater. What's the reason? Because number one, it does not alter the water quality, but it inactivates only the microorganisms. Secondly, it is a chemical free that can completely replace the chlorination system, the existing one. So chemical free replaces chlorination system, the one which is existing, the existing chlorination system. So it is chemical free. Not only that, but also it inactivates those microorganisms which are highly resistant to chlorine. Now, disease resistant varieties against what is called chlorine, or we can say disease resistant, here not disease, chlorine resistant microorganisms are developed. Chlorine resistant microorganisms are developed. So they are not responding to chlorine. Chlorine cannot able to kill these microorganisms. In such cases, now UV rays, it inactivates the chlorine resistant microorganisms such as two protozoans, one is called Cryptosporidium and Giardia intestinalis. Cryptosporidium parvum and Giardia intestinalis, both are protozoan parasites. Both cause diarrhea, particularly in the case of children, where we are consuming what is called the contaminated water. Now, both are protozoan parasites. They can be killed only by means of UV rays once exposed, but not the chlorine. The chlorine lasts the power of killing these two parasitic protozoans that cause diarrhea. Now, the Giardia intestinalis is the one living in the intestine. That is the first ever known protozoan parasite. That's why it's called first ever known protozoan parasite. Hence, there is a nickname, Grand Old Man of Intestine, as it was known first. The first protozoan parasite. A neat question also. This is what we have, the neat question. First, that is ever known protozoan parasite, hence the name, that is Grand Old Man of Intestine. It causes diarrhea in the case of children. So there are three reasons why we are using UV rays as an ideal disinfectant. Okay, inactivating the microorganisms without altering the quality of water. It is chemical free, just replacing the existing chlorination systems, and also it inactivates those microorganisms which are resistant to chlorine. Examples, two protozoan parasites. Cryptosporidium causes cryptosporidiasis, a kind of diarrhea. Cryptosporidiasis. And this one causes giardiasis, and both are nothing but what we call intestinal diarrhea, affecting mostly children. Now, so this is what we have, the different types of treatment, the three treatment. Now I represent the picture, the diagram, whatever I explained. Okay, you can just follow the diagram. So I explain also how the diagram is to be displayed. What are the different stages during wastewater treatment? I explain briefly. The same one I represent the form of what is called an illustration. Now, the source of wastewater, that is from towns and cities. First, they are treated what's called pre-treatment. To remove the solid materials, coarse solids, we can say coarse solids, the rough solids, sand and clay. The treatment is called pre-treatment, simple removal. Then it is being allowed to enter the primary settling tank, which is considered the primary treatment. So this is the preliminary treatment, just to remove the solid waste, the visible ones, easily. Now then we have the materials that are allowed to pass into the primary settling tank, that is called as a primary treatment. From where you see that when the effluent has been taken to the aeration zone, where air is pumped into it, liquid water is allowed to enter for the microbial growth, that is aerobic microbes, the useful aerobic microbes. And from where we see that one, after just reducing what's called BOD, the effluent is passed into the secondary settling tank, and both together constitute secondary treatment. In secondary settling tank, you know that one, the frogs are allowed to sediment. Now from where it is being passed on to the tertiary treatment, where the inorganic materials, nitrogen, phosphorus, etc. are removed, and also it is a disinfectant zone. UV rays are allowed to pass through the tank to remove any parasitic forms, just like the protozoan parasites, to kill. So after that we have what is called the treated sewage, that is left out. It can be reused or what we have disposed. So treated sewage for reuse or disposed. Then I mentioned only a small part of activated sludge is pumped back into the aeration zone. This is the one from secondary settling tank. A small amount of activated sludge is pumped back to the aeration zone as an inoculum, just actually to provide again the microbes to do the process of what is called removal of organic matter to reduce what we have, the BOD. Okay. Now, either from the primary settling tank or from the secondary settling tank, the materials are allowed to enter the anaerobic sludge digester. So the one which is coming from the primary settling tank is called primary sludge. The one which is coming from the secondary settling tank is called secondary sludge. Both can be normally anaerobically digested by anaerobic bacteria to remove the bacteria and fungus. As a result, you have received a mixture of gases, that is a biogas, having carbon dioxide, methane and hydrogen sulfide. So this is the schematic one which represents how far the treatment is going on. So primary treatment, secondary treatment, tertiary treatment. The tanks are here the pre-treatment tank, primary settling tank, aeration tank, then secondary settling tank and disinfectant tank, where you have the UV rays are exposed. The final product we are getting also the treated sewage for reuse, or it can be normally disposed. Okay, so we are getting the production of gas from the anaerobic sludge digester having a mixture of carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide and also methane. Okay, that's about wastewater treatment, the different stages.